surely scare you to sleep, or for those sleepless nights keep you company. Hit the thumbs up button if you would. I'd appreciate it so much. Are we ready? Ready to get started? I think we definitely are. Okay. Have you ever had a Ouija board experience? I'd love to know. You can always email me, Jodi at whispersasmr.com. I would love to get a collection of them and read them on the channel. So, my first experience with the Ouija board was a friend of a friend's house. I was there with my best friend, and her boyfriend at the time was there. And well, my best friend, she was Jessa, had grown up in this house, which notoriously was dubbed haunted by everybody in our town. The woman who lived there would wake up with scratches on her back. Or all the women, not just the first, but I guess everybody that lived there after who was a woman was abused. They would routinely see the ghosts of a little boy, crazy shit all the time. Jessica, my childhood friend, moved into this crazy haunted house when the family moved out. And guess who was there for the house warming party? You got it. Her best friends. Jessica's friend had a Ouija board. Jessica and I are both pretty spiritual. Neither of us wanted to touch that damn thing. Nothing was happening. So Chuck, boyfriend, markers were placed upon it. With my background in witchcraft and all, as soon as I touched it, the pointer started to move really slowly. So as it came, I said, "Move faster," and it started moving more quickly. I kept saying faster, and eventually it was moving so fast my friend touching the cursor was saying, "This isn't funny." As if I was moving it, I said I wasn't moving it at all. Lifted my finger and he freaked out. Releasing the board and the pointer went shooting across the room. At that point, we were all pretty convinced this board was the real deal and had been conjuring spirits. One of the girls wanted to see more, so we grabbed the cursor or the planchette and started again. The board has to speak. his eyes get wide, and he wants to play. Being kind of stoned, I agree, and we start asking it questions. The planchette starts spelling Jessica's name. We all get in the car and head over to her place. She's not home, but Chuck is. I left the board in the car with my cousin and her boyfriend, and I go to talk to Chuck. He said Jessica's at work until 9 that night, but we could come in and wait for her. After the last incident, he was interested to see what was going to happen. When I got to the car, my cousin and her boyfriend said they heard fingers tapping, 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 as if something we were waiting impatiently for me to get back was outside the car. We sat around waiting for quite a while. Chuck brings out his own board from the last time I was over. We use it and it says Jessa, Jessa, and pointing to the no, then to the sun in the corner of the board, over and over. No sun, no sun. Eventually I figured out that it was saying no light. I asked if it wanted me to shut off the light, and it said, no, we're not going to do that. I say, I read that bad spirits do not like the light. Finally, when Jessica got home, she said she was too tired and didn't want to try using it. We agreed to leave it alone and brought the board home. I didn't like having it in my house, so the next time I went to visit Haley, I brought it back. She said she wanted to try it one more time and then we would get rid of it. That's what they all say. But by that time, the spirit has you hooked. At this point, I was clearly addicted to it for some reason. Haley and I are at the basement apartment, climbing out of the window for cigarettes. Near the back clearing with the trees, we go back in and use the board. The board spells out Haley's name, and this time the spirit's name is Maria. Haley immediately starts to cry and says, "That's not funny." I had no idea why or what was going on, but the board keeps things. It's saying, tell them I miss them, tell them I love them, I'm here, I love them. As Haley is crying, she explains that her best friend's mom, Maria, had died a year ago. I remember the death. It was big news in our high school. Suddenly the cursor moved to spell my name. I asked who it was. The cursor spelled Deb. I read that bad spirits cannot tell their names because they do not have one. If a spirit can spell a name, that is usually a good one. I ask how I know her, and she says she's my spirit guide. Haley says, "How do we know you're real?" And the cursor spells cigarette. And I said, "What do you mean?" And then She says the tree was still, then suddenly the whole tree, including the trunk, moved back and forth, then went perfectly still. I was like, hell no, girl. And after what? Freaking out for about an hour, sat back at the board. We put our fingers on it and said, "Did you see?" We were stunned. What the hell is happening? It was speaking. It's okay. I love you. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Don't be scared. Well, I'm terrified at this point. Finally, I asked it to speak to only me and for Haley to go away. Haley jokingly said, you don't like me. And the board said, don't be sad, Haley. But after that, I must admit, nothing really happened because in my mind, nothing came of it. When I tried to use the board on my own, Haley and my spirit guide could not communicate with me. I liked to think it was real. My spirit guide, Deb, was just trying to get me off the board. As I said, we talked about it a lot. We were using it quite a bit. I sometimes wonder what Deb wanted to tell me. Here's the thing, she never used it again without Haley. And Haley's great-grandfather died and was raised in that house. She was the connection. That gives me chills. It was scary. So when the Ouija board predicts or tells you the truth that somebody has been lying to you, what do you do when you find out that it's right? My mom and aunt, they used a Ouija board after their dad died. He had remarried, but had told his daughters that he was leaving them a few things in his will, including some money. His second wife was the executor and was saying he hadn't left them money, etc., etc., etc. So my mom and her sister thought it was possible the money was not left to them after all. The second wife had said. My aunt was really strapped for cash, and they felt like it was also possible the second wife was withholding info and their money. They apparently managed to get their dad via the Ouija board and asked him whether he had left the money in his will. It spelled out a 3-letter acronym for a surrounding and lots of scary things happened. I saw people, heard my name whispered in my ear. Whispered in my ear. I heard my voice mimicked footsteps daily. My father's, and walked around the kitchen with his voice. That one convinced me that we were broken into is 7 years older than me, and the story goes like this. My parents rented a house that my mom's aunt and uncle owned in the late 70s. That my aunt committed suicide in the early 60s in the back bedroom of the top floor. Shortly after my brother was born, they decided to use the Ouija board for some reason and try and contact her aunt. After a few questions and inquiries, they asked the question that prompted the board to respond to this words: Move, Jay. My brother's name is Jason, but goes by Jay. They moved his crib to their room. A short few days later, a massive storm caused a tree branch to crash through my brother's bedroom. this is a throwaway account, so I'm gonna try to keep it short. It was late 2011 in the summer. I'm in the EU, so none of this was in English, but when I was 15, my friend and I did it. I drew up the Ouija board on a large piece of paper, lit the candles, entered a meditative state. I was the conduit for the experience. We used a small shot glass turned upside down. I do not remember the first question or how my reaction was to when it first moved. We were sitting on the floor in my room with the board on a rectangular subwoofer acting as a small table. We placed only the tip of our fingers on the glass, resting. At 12 o'clock, said my friend's wristwatch, and mine at 6. Had one of us moved our fingers to try to influence the glass, it would simply rotate in an awkward way, which we tried after. We asked many questions to the entity that we had provoked or evoked, lifting up the glass and whispering into it, "Is there someone that wants to communicate with us?" Then placing it down again on the designated start circle. The glass moved to yes. We asked for name, and so followed a series of questions and answers. Lars died in 1947. He had no connection to the building. If I recall, we asked him something more, but after that I said goodbye and gave my thanks as I felt it to be mundane at that time. I then asked this very question, starting with 6 all the way up to 9. When I reached 9, it moved to no instead of yes. We settled for 8. Is there someone from the 8th dimension that we can communicate with? What is your name? Unku. Onuku. How old are you? It proceeds to move to the drawn up number pad with 09, quickly directing the glass across 6 figures, starting with 4, 3, then so on, meaning it was over 400,000 years old. My friend and I asked the entity a series of ridiculous and to us fascinating questions at the time, some personal, some scientific, etc. Everything was well and good. The communication was impressive to me. The glass moved with a sharp, clear intent for each answer, like someone grabbed the base of the upside-down glass and swiftly moved it to the letter. Sometimes spelling words so fast we couldn't keep up and lost some meaning, but I wanted something more. Can you show us a visual sign? Yes, I can. Should we go outside now? No. We asked some more questions unrelated, and after 5 minutes or so I asked, "Is it time for us to go outside now?" Yes. My friend and I stood up and went out to the balcony. In an alright, don't know what to expect, but here we go type my sister moved, I got haunted. Or however you want to call it. I also had a stereo tower. If you physically changed the buttons, the machine would give feedback in the form of light from the display. This happened while I was listening to music in my bed. I couldn't even touch the machine from where I was lying. One night I woke up with the urge to throw away my pillow. I did, and a big spider showed up on my pillow. One night I woke up and my ear was completely covered in blood. Worst was the feeling of that house. Always, even now, somehow scares the shit out of me. We moved a lot. I have seen 10 different houses, lived in 10 different houses, and never had the sensation of this house. Like I said, I am 30, my sister is 40. I asked her if she was messing with me back then. Maybe I was making things up or she was doing it to scare me. She says absolutely not. Not at all. She is still convinced that house is haunted. We're superstitious in our culture, but this house is something totally different. I found our house on YouTube. It is completely renovated. The video goes room to room. The room where the television is the room where we used the Ouija board. When they go upstairs, you see a room with a plush deer on the wall. That was my room. The bed is still in the same position. I checked my ear at the water fountain in the hallway there. Then it skips down. You see white stairs, and that was my sister's place. That's wild. I think it's cool that she found the same house. I guess she Googled the address and it was on YouTube. I was a teenager and I lived in South rural Australia, and my mom was into it. We did it twice. With a friend of hers. The first time my grandfather, who had passed away 6 years earlier, allegedly came through and told her words to the effect that he forgave her for how angry she used to get when he would make silly mistakes when he was driving and she was in the car. The second time someone came through and told us that there were babies buried in our front yard under where Mom was growing roses. Random and freaking terrifying. Now, the actual babies part we never confirmed, but Mom went to the council and found out the house we lived in was the district hospital during the early part of the 20th century. Up until the end of World War I, and that included recorded births occurring there. associated with the farmhouse. So we set up in her basement of this 100-plus-year-old home. We start talking to the Ouija board. We start by asking questions, and a boy, young, started talking to us, or that's at least who he said he was. At first we were using silly questions, and he was answering in a similar fashion. Us joking, he's joking back. He told us that he had died on the farm generations before while working as a farmhand. Completely plausible. He told us that he had been treated poorly by the farmer and might even been what we could gather the farmer's unwanted son, something to that effect. After talking for quite a while, we ended the session and went about our day, not really thinking much of it. A few days later, curiosity killed the cat, I guess. We tried the board again. This time the boy did not seem to want to talk to my friend, only me. We thought that this was really strange, but kept asking our silly questions. But the boy was different this time. He was getting really angry with us. And we thought, is this the same boy? Up until this point, I was pretty skeptical. I really thought that my friend was manipulating the whole thing, including the planchet. Just to give me a good experience, I guess. But as this boy was getting mad, her radio started to turn on in her room, and it was static, only coming through the speakers. Then the smoke from the candle we had lit started rising up pretty far. We started to flip out, put away the board, and never touch it again. I was convinced for weeks that I was going to be haunted by that boy. I played once in college. I forget exactly how many of us there were, but we had a mix of girls and guys to gain a proper balance of energy. We go through the motions and summon someone named Hesh. A guy died naturally according to the board. And we tested his authenticity, what our birthdays were, our favorite colors, etc. But we were asking easy questions about always do this in a clean surrounding so as to invoke good energy and hence a good spirit. Yes, this is very true. This became a regular affair with a lot of anecdotal experiences, which I'll tell you guys if you're interested. My dad left his undergraduate halfway and joined the defense services and went away for training. One vacation he came back hanging out with the same old school buddies. They had heard about this Ouija escapade and wanted to try the shit out. My dad agrees, and these guys go to their old school. They were crazy school. Their crazy schools look bloody haunted when they're empty. They sit in this classroom, and little kids study there. So there's a lot of filth, broken furniture, and the works. It's not clean. And keep in mind, they're in all mildew surroundings, mildew, dust, dirt, and all the creepy thoughts of those kids. Some pure, some not. And to make things worse, they were half drunk. So my dad's friends and he sit down, take the Ouija board out, and work it. Sure enough, they get a response immediately. They ask him confirmatory questions that have been pretty standard, like which side does the sun set? Bad ghosts never answer correctly and are usually nonsensical. This particular one said cow IRC to that question. My dad realizes this is an evil spirit. So my dad and his friends constantly ask the spirit to leave, and the spirit in return refuses to go. Now they couldn't leave till the ghost left or the spirit left, or else the spirit would be stuck on Earth and probably haunt one of them. This went on till 3 a.m. when the bad spirit's energy finally shifted and they knew it was gone. My dad swore never to go near a Ouija board ever again. The next day they found out an old man had died a really painful death right outside the school. So there's that. Here's my advice. Don't do it. 'Cause here's my story. When my friends and I were young, of course, around 15, we found and saw a local show featuring Ouija boards, work and experiences of people who 6 a.m. in the morning when we got everything settled. Never messing with that shit ever again. Never burn a Ouija board. You cleanse it. Always keep it clean of bad energy. If you burn it, you can either release the bad spirit into this universe or be haunted by it, or it will just move to a different conduit. Be very, very careful. Don't ever burn a Ouija board. It is not a good idea. I am an occultist. Yes, I am a Wiccan. By the way, it does not make me a crazy guy who thinks he sees Harry Potter, nor does it make me a dark, evil entity. It's more like, I don't know, a religion applied practically. People call it Wiccan or paganism, but those have rules. I live more under Wiccan tradition, I guess, where it's every man for himself or woman. For all I know, it could be plain old psychology, but I think of it as more mystical than anything else. A way to communicate with the other side, with spirits, and it works quite effectively if done properly. But you have to be careful. You have to know what you're doing. Read up on it. Don't go in blind. One of my best experiences involved talking with the spirit of air, which happened back when I believed only in the mental aspect of magic, and thought that the spirit I was talking were just parts of my psyche. To test this, I asked the spirit to show some kind of sign of its existence, which I did not expect to manifest itself the way it did. When I asked this huge eagle, birds being part of the air spirit domain, landed right outside my window, stared at me. Now this in itself is very strange. That is a very powerful sign. it was some internal instinct that happened, or if Christ truly did utilize my body as a means to an end, I will never know, because I do not remember a moment of this. All I know is, according to everybody, I was not myself. I wasn't evil. I was in a verbal war with this spirit thing. We ended up all staying at a hotel. I contacted the priest the next morning. I was terrified. I asked if I should get someone to exorcise the house. He said, yes, you can be a Christian. It's your duty. You don't need a priest. I literally cried myself to sleep, clutching my prayer rope, knowing it had to face this thing. The next day we went back. I said the prayers I had to, with everyone repeating after me. This thing fucking hated me. I was the only religious person there at the time. We went to a dumpster far away, and I destroyed that board. Tore it to shreds. I left home for a couple of days to visit some friends. I was a Christian, but I had not been baptized, so I got baptized. I had known it was the time. My friends said I had looked different. I was glowing, my face on fire. I went back, and through the guidance of the priest, poured water, blessed it, and went to the four corners of the house. Blessed them, went to all the rooms and closets, blessed them. All of them, items that were missing, began to appear after I blessed the area. To this day, I'm still haunted by this. Though it's quiet, random things sometimes happen, which I've learned do not care about anymore. No longer is this thing malevolent towards me. It seems to just hope to pull fear from me, which would give it power. But I do not let it. It took a lot for me to actually write this down. I do not tell many people this, but I decided I should, considering you're thinking of doing it. My third eye was torn open with no want of my own. No one should deal with what I and my family has dealt with over the years. I'm not in any way using this as a means to preach. If I was Islamic, I would have used the Islamic way to rid it. Same if I was pagan. I believe we all have the same goddess, God at the end of the day. Just different cultures create different avenues. I would never tell a pagan to do the Christian way, or a Muslim to do the Muslim or the Christian way, or a Buddhist to do the Christian way. I'm just saying, whatever religion you are, there's always good side and a bad side. I don't care what religion you are. It can be used for good or evil. Just remember that. And always be aware of what you are using it for. That is more important than anything else. was always the asshole that, well, scammed her friends and gained that. The Ouija board was real. I put a little extra horizontal pressure on it, which caused whoever was sitting across from me to push harder themselves without realizing it. Once at a friend's birthday party in 7th or 8th grade, I was manipulating the game as per usual for that extra fun, I guess. I was able to easily create a ghost who was too shy to share his name. However, I know that I named this ghost. It was a dead relative of someone in the room. He was male, middle-aged, so on and so forth. I randomly chose this girl, Kristen, to be the relative, as she was the one who was getting the most freaked out. She asked, "Is it you?" To which I, of course, pointed the marker to yes. To make the ghost prove it, she asked, "What was your nickname for me?" I just randomly had the marker spelled out Chrissy because, well, that's a potential nickname for Kristen. Apparently that was her nickname that only the family member who died called her. Lucky guess. She started freaking out and crying, refusing to play the board anymore. You probably never should do this. I'm just going to put out a warning out there. See, here's the thing. said. The street stain, the planchet came to life under our hands. Yes, what is your name? Adam, how old are you? 8. What years did you live? 1829, 1837. Then we asked him a question that required more than a short answer. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but this Adam spirit started picking out letters. J-E-S-U. Oh, the spirit is going to go about Jesus, but he continued, and I was in shock. G-E-S-U-I-S. He was speaking French. Je suis. French to us. This makes complete sense because founding families of that street were French, yet it came as quite a shock to realize the reality of the situation. None of us spoke a lick of French. Not even a class. Nothing. It was a shock to the reality and the power of a Ouija board. Oh, I forgot to mention that I was the only one out of us that actually could read it, but I had no idea how to respond. I really felt like we were speaking with a child. He sometimes spoke English, but mostly French, which I could slightly discern. We spoke English to him, though it was a bit weird thinking about the possibility of a language barrier between our realm and his. He told us his father was a doctor. He had a dog named Henry who he loved dearly, and some other kid stuff. We asked him if he had lived on the street. He said yes. Where? White Port. We all shrugged because none of us knew the street extremely well. There were a dozen founding families and a whole bunch of old buildings in that area. Tough questions, but we had to ask. If you don't mind telling us, Adam, how did you pass away at such a young age? He responded in French as I stared at the ceiling and my friends announced the letters. La guerre m'est détruite. The war destroyed me. Chills. All of us. Whoa. A huge moment for us when I was trying to translate what he said. We asked, are you at rest in the Huguenot Street family? He confirmed he was, and that his headstone was near a big maple tree that got really colorful in the fall. Okay, eventually this session began winding down and the planchet moved more and more sluggishly. We said goodbye. It was heartwarming to talk to such a young and happy-seeming spirit, but I had requested a benevolent spirit. Okay. So we said goodbye, and a few days later we paid a visit to Huguenot Street. It was a day or two before Halloween, and the tour guides that work at the historic site have all this special stuff around that time. That particular evening, every path was lined with candles. Lit candles, which just added to the whole experience. We wandered down the street and stumbled upon Dubois Fort. It was indeed a white building, and the only building which called itself a fort on the whole street. Naturally, we had to go inside. The inside was clearly very old, but renovated into tour type of place. Not a fort anymore. There were signs with information. One of the signs read to the effect of Dubois Ford went under major renovations in 1837, the year Adam died. Could this be Adam Dubois, descended from one of the founding families? Finally, we paid a respectful visit to the cemetery. It was so old it was actually now referred to as a burial ground. There are old, weathered, discolored, slanting headstones covering this place. We started looking around for some smaller ones. We figured that a child would have correspondingly small headstone. That the vast majority of the stones are too weathered to make out the words that were on them. There are a few in particular we suspected to be his. One small one near trees, another members of our group found the Dubois family, and even one small headstone with initials AD. We paid our respects and left. To this day, this is the most gratifying Ouija board experience I've had. I would like to connect with him again. I do hope he's at peace. My ex-girlfriend and her friends used a Ouija board. Yeah, when they were around 16. This was 2 years after my ex's dad had died. She had closed herself up, so it was nice that she was making friends again. I was on the phone with her while her friends were using the Ouija board in the background. They had already apparently contacted a few entities. Allegedly. She's telling me about all these ridiculous, I'm thinking at the time, ridiculous contacts. When I could hear her friends laughing in the background, they suddenly stopped laughing. One of the girls said to my ex-girlfriend, "Is your dad named James?" She never told these girls about her dad yet. This was a really weird question, but she answered yes. Why? They said a few things and she told me she would call me back. Later on, she gave me a call, and from what she said, the girls had contacted a man named James. They asked who he was and when he died. He replied, "Dad, 2 years. They asked why he was here. He said, daughter. They asked her name. He said, my ex-girlfriend's name." That's when they had stopped laughing. After she hung up, she started asking questions but not touching the board in any way to discern if it was them fooling around. She asked him what was the nickname he used to call her when she was a little girl. He said, "Sweet Pea." My ex burst into tears. She never used one again. I asked my mother, who was a devout Christian, about these when I was young. After some stumbling, I guess, across some writings about Ouija boards. Basically, she told me that what I would be doing would be contacting If I remember correctly, her bedroom was in an attic. We had been talking about a friend that had lived down the street from me earlier in the evening, and I was wondering what had happened to him. When we asked the board the name of who we were talking about, it said his freaking name, Jeremy. It went to nonsense for a bit and then starting out spelling Jen. We were all freaking out because two of us were named Jennifer. It spelled out my full name not once, but twice. Then you are dead. You are dead. 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 I jumped back. The indicator started spinning around wildly in circles on the board and blew across the floor so hard that it went down the stairs. Just then there was a knock at the door. It was her I do believe, though, I'm protected from that board in some weird way. When I was a kid, my brother and I, two witnesses, so I know I wasn't freaking out or tripping or making this up. I saw a man that looked like the envisioned Jesus, but in white, walking on our back porch. He just walked slowly and faded away a few feet before he would have walked into a wall. We all got a perfect view of him, though because it was the back porch and the light was on, it was hard to be 100% sure. I'm agnostic, though, but to this day I still do not know what to think of this incident. Well, some people believe and some people do not believe, but I promise you this. If you don't believe and you mess around with it the incorrect way, you're gonna get exactly that. Results you don't want to get. Because it may not be real in your mind because you've never played or never really played. But there are sometimes places you can go, maybe a conduit that would, or a spirit that would use the board as a conduit wasn't nearby, or a demon. Be careful on what you don't believe in, because this world is full of things we know nothing about. That I can promise you from personal experience. Just be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. I understand the skepticism in this thread, and I offer you this personal experience to reassure you that these do work sometimes. If it's the right time, a lot goes into it, the right time in the moon cycle, the right energy, the right people around you. But when you get them to work, they do. So I was in high school, as most of these other people are about. I thought about developing a car for myself and entitled it The Dark Angel. One night my friends and I were goofing with a Ouija board. It was the lead. Oh, I'm sorry. I was the lead on this when I was there, and I did not allow the bad questions to be asked. Someone new to the group did not believe in the board and decided we test it. We asked questions that at least two group members knew, but if they didn't know, they were not allowed to touch the board at all. The first was, what is the name of my future car, referring to the Dark Angel, of course. With no hands on the board that knew the answer, the board spelled DA, which is how I often referred to this future vehicle. To be fair, I was touching, so maybe my subconscious kicked in, which is why I'll explain question 2. We asked the non-believer's birthday, come through, but I stopped playing with it long ago because, well, let's just say it scared me and hung around for way too long. I gave the board away. Oh, that happened to us as well. We kept connecting with Amanda. I do not believe the myth that it will come back to you, etc. I haven't used mine for a year and now though, but I do not want to give it away because it is a family heirloom. We were sitting one night and it was a silent, quiet night. Not even the wind was stirring. My cousin, his friend, and myself, silently, we were concentrating, and the tension in the air was thick. Something from behind me moved, my hair blowing on my shoulder. I thought it was my cousin, so I laughed, but when I opened my eyes, he was on the other side of the room, staring at me because he could see my hair moving. Yeah, I'm a skeptic. Well, let's say I used to be. Just someone subconsciously driving it to answer something you want to see. However, I believe in it now. Me and two other friends of mine used the board. The specter told the spirit to repeat the number in his mind that was in between 1 and 100. It went straight to 7, paused, and then began moving between the numbers about 10 seconds before settling on the 2. Completely stopped moving. We then asked it if it meant 72, and it went to yes. My friend then confirmed the number. We had not known the number or have him hinting at it anyway. We just had our eyes glued to the board the whole time. I guess I believe that there is a major difference between the commercially made Ouija boards and the handcrafted seance boards, or maybe it's just me. I've used a Ouija board from Walmart made by Parker Brothers, or Milton Bradley, or something like that, or Hasbro, and jack shit happened. Just saying. Well, I believe there are 2 factors. Or there are other factors too, like I do. When my 2 skeptic friends tried it, nothing happened. When they tried it with me or my other friend that believed it worked, it may be some people think easier or have a connection or are more sensitive, or just people created these things. I'm not sure. Nobody can know for certain, but I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of people on here who've had a lot of really terrifying experiences, so in some way you have to believe. Oh, I was at sleepaway camp. A girl brought her authentic board made out of maple straight from Salem, Massachusetts. Ironically, the woman, or the girl at the time, was Catholic, but loved her board. It was interesting happening, she stopped the movement and bid the spirit goodbye. In that moment, the icy grip loosened, and I guess all was well. We were all like, whoa. When the girl explained that for her board, the figure 8 meant that something was trying to get out of it. At a later time, we were playing in someone else's room when we asked the board the name of whoever we were talking to. Zelda, something came through. We got talking to her and found out she was a young widow whose husband died in a war. She died at 80. I remember the name, and a few years later on a trip to Salem, where the board was made, we passed some old houses with historical plaques that said the original owners and year they were built. Well, one of those houses was named Z. Amnazi. I flipped my shit, got all excited. That was cool. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not. Another coincidence I did not write in the original thread was that at the same camp we played the board at the camp's concert when the kids got kicked out of the auditorium. There were a bunch of kids around the state. Many of us didn't know each other, and one kid I know, no one was there watching. We got talking to someone as if they knew anyone there, yes. Then it gave us the full name of the boy that was there but not playing. He gave his name Charles and said it was his godfather. The boy immediately started crying. I wouldn't know how to explain my experiences. Listen to me though. Never allow whatever it is in the board to leave the board, please. Back in the stoner days, some of my stoner buddies and I were playing with the Ouija board. There was a bag of marijuana on the table just to the left of the board. There were some nonsensical answers during the session. Then someone asked, "Do you want something?" The planchet started moving in figure 8s, but sideways like the infinity symbol for a while, then stopped at the edge of the board, pointing directly to the bag of marijuana. Well, maybe he was an old hippie. About 2 to 3 years ago, my friend brought her Ouija board to my house so we could play with it, being curious. For the first time I used it, I watched for a while. Some of my other friends were playing. I decided I would join in. Why not? We asked if there was a spirit present. It answered yes. We asked, going to just letters, it would spell out its name. It started going to random letters, not making any specific word. I asked for its name again, and it spelled out bitch. I tell you the weird encounters are undescribable. He shaved down his planchet once and found weird markings on it that only showed up under a black light. No markings found in the wood the pointer was cut from, and markers would show up as black under the black light while his see my mother and his face would take a dark, sinister appearance. The strangest thing is that my mother would rush into the room with the rocking chair. It would be moving, suddenly stop when she would slam the door open. We eventually moved out of that part and to Germany because of my father's job. But we returned to Clarksville a few years later, and I found the Ouija board and started to play around it when my mother walked into the room. She had a horrible feeling. Explained to me that I needed to quit playing. That's when she told me all about this. She told me about the experiences when I was a baby and how her